Is it off? Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So now I'm not talking to a blank screen.
For those of you, obviously you guys can't see this, but Rotimi's got a whole farm in his background. So,
so I put that there and I don't know how to take it off. So it's not intentional.
Fair enough, man. It looks good. It looks good. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I know you're a busy man, so I won't take too much of your time, before we get going. But yeah, welcome to this, clubhouse room / Zoom recording. So my name is Malobi Ogbechi. I'm the founder of Panafrican Traders, the B2B marketplace. And today we're joined by Rotimi Williams, who I will let sort of do his own introduction. So Rotimi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background and how you eventually got into agriculture? That would be great.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I'm a farmer, a tech entrepreneur. So I'm into more security tech. I don't know, is that what it's called now? Yeah, GovTech. I'm not sure what to call it. And part-time artist as well. So I've been farming since 2012. I used to work with Euro Money magazine in London. I schooled in Aberdeen. I did my undergrad in Aberdeen. I did my first master's in Aberdeen. And then I did another master's at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London. And here I am, hustling in Nigeria.
Really hustling, bro. Really hustling.
Yeah.
We all know Nigeria is not the easiest place to hustle, especially with what's going on right now. But we'll get around to talking about that.
Sure.
But how did you end up from you said you were working for a magazine, I believe, and then getting into agriculture. So how did that transition happen?
I guess it was time. You know when you travel and you're schooling there and you watch all these music videos and you start missing home, and then you get a job that allows you to travel around Africa, including one of them being Nigeria. One of the countries I covered was Nigeria. And, it just became real that I wanted to be back home. There was a buzz going on at that time where, it was Kenya, be it South Africa, be it Zambia, everything seemed to be happening. Young people were doing a lot, and I wanted to be part of that journey as well. So, I kind of felt it was time for me to move back home. And I was poached by one of the banks I came to interview here in Nigeria. And so that gave me a soft landing, made the decision to move home easier. And that was it, really. So that's how I moved back. But, like every story that everyone thinks has a happy ending, that story did not have a happy ending. So I left banking 2 years afterwards. I left banking in 2010. I tried to create a fund. It was a structured trade and commodity finance fund for agriculture. That failed because we couldn't raise the funding. The seed funding was impossible. And then, so I went into consulting. So I wanted to consult for small farms that wanted to raise money in agriculture. And that's how I got the gig I'm on now.
That's awesome. And how was, you said you started in 2012. What was the agribusiness landscape in Nigeria like in 2012 compared to 2021 where we're at right now?
I think 2012 was still virgin, to be honest. I mean, there are not many young people in agriculture. The few people I knew were perhaps doing small veg farming, but there was nothing by a measure of what I was looking at in terms of large scale farming. That was non-existent at that point. So it was pretty much virgin. That was sort of the beginning of the drive, this whole agricultural drive by the then Minister Adesina. So I sort of joined that at the right time, you see.
Okay. That's interesting. And finally, what about the agriculture bit? Like, why rice? Of all the different commodities to get into, why rice?
Okay, so there are two reasons actually. So first, so you need to understand the background story. So while I was consulting, the first gig I got, which was actually the only gig I then got, right? I was asked to raise $130 million for a rice farm. It was a 17,000 hectare rice farm in Nasarawa. And I raised the funds through a bank in London. It was Commerce Bank in London. It was guaranteed by Nursel, right? And then that same year, after getting the funds, we've done the first signing of the what's it called, the indicative term sheet. We're going for the second and final signing. And then NERSA was now to become a PLC. It was owned by CBN, so it was then to become a PLC. And all the loans under NERSA was to novate to the PLC. And the bank got uncomfortable with that because effectively what they had was they now had a sovereign loan becoming a PLC loan. A sovereign guarantee becoming a PLC guarantee. And they asked that CBN write a letter that in the case that NERSA cannot pay in the event of a default, that CBN would pay. And CBN said it was against that constitution. And that was the end of that deal. The deal failed. Yeah, so, and I was a young guy then, dude. Like I spent a lot of my money, traveling, meeting different bankers. It wasn't just Commerce Bank I'd approached at the time. I've spoken to various bankers. I've traveled, London flights, Lagos to London. You start calculating your cut of the $130 million, and you stop flying economy, start flying business class. Like you think you arrived now. Do you understand? Exactly. And then you're going for lunch. You're going for lunch with bankers. You're meeting. Like they're ordering, Kobe beef and wines that you didn't know existed for you.
It's real life.
500, 600 pounds on wine, and then you feel obliged to pay because you're expecting this big payout. So I spent a lot of money, and it didn't work. So I asked the owner, the owner of the farm, that mandated me to raise the fund, to compensate me for my loss, and he said he didn't have any cash. So I just threw it there in the open. I look, okay, if you don't have cash, let 50-50 the farm, and he agreed. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, no problem, let's 50-50 the farm. So I just ramped the farm up from 17,000 hectares to 55,000 hectares.
And that was you say that like it's easy. How do you go from 17,000 to 55,000 hectares?
I think the reason is very important first. So because I knew that once people heard that we were farming rice on that scale, there will be a huge rush for land, some sort of land, call it land grabbing if you want. So we needed to secure all the land we needed for the future, even if we needed to do partnerships or anything. I wanted all that land in one place. So I spoke to the community. We didn't have the money to pay for the lease for 55,000 hectares for 50 years. So I brought them into the deal. I gave them a 20% equity share that at the end of every season, we give them 20% of the profits, give them a nominal amount at the beginning to sort of just ease themselves off, and that was it. And they signed the deal. So we didn't need to pay millions and millions for that size of land. No, and I think that's the mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people assume that to get big land, you need to pay big money. You can structure your way into a deal.
Okay.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, for people that are listening in, that's some game right there. So you don't need to just get a bunch of cash to own all that land. You can get like a profit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I did.
That's dope. That's amazing. And so the long story short of it is that you ended up stopping the project. So can you go into a bit of that? How you ended up stopping one of the largest commercial farms in Nigeria, rice farms in Nigeria, and what you're doing now.
Yes, I mean, then when we started on 50 hectares, and the plan was always to sort of, when you harvest, you take about 20% out of the profits to sort of just for upkeep, and then you plow the rest back in. And then plowing back in means for your expansion plan, and then we expand off our balance sheet. Because the one thing we didn't want any bank loans, because agriculture is very, if you understand nature, you can't, if you think you're intelligent, nature will put you to the test, right? So we didn't want a scenario where we won't be sleeping at night because it rained and the rain washed everything away. So we wanted to do it that way. We did successfully for a couple of years. We also worked, we benefited from this backward integration plan with the government, where they allowed us to bring in rice, save some cash, and then plow back the funds, the savings onto the farm, which is what allowed us to fund the big expansion, right? At the same time, we lost a lot of that money due to flood, and then rebuilding. So it's constantly strategizing and adapting every season, year by year. And that's a picture a lot of people don't see. A lot of people just see this beautiful picture of a farm, but they don't know the detail and what really goes into it. So yeah, that was it. Fast forward now to 2015, 2016, we started getting bits and bobs of this farmer header issues. The killing in Benue State started. It was 71 people killed on New Year's Day. And the damaging thing there was that when the government was going to send the army in and the police, the Inspector General of the Police, they sent them to Tunga, which is where my farm is, to the farm, because my farm is 50 meters away from from the River Benue. So they effectively sent them to my farming community. They were on my farm because it's alleged that that's where the guys who carried out this act took up from. They crossed the river and carried out this killing. So they were expecting a reprisal. So then that disrupted the planting season going forward. And then, the hints of insurgency present in the area as well. So that's basically pretty much messed up the plan. So, we find ourselves sort of rejigging the model, right? Instead of farming in one place and expanding on big land, why don't we do this? Why don't we say, for example, Malobi's father or great-grandparent passed away and left him 2,000 hectares. He's not interested in farming. He's in the States. He doesn't know what to do with it. So he signs a deal with Rotimi for Rotimi to farm on it and give him X%, and he signs a 10-year deal. So then I go there and I farm, right? So if there's ever any issue there, I can up and go. There's no real capital tied down to that land. So that's the sort of model I'm finding myself adopting now, whereby because of the insecurity in the country, there's really no point putting the pen on the paper, signing a deal for any land now, because there's no guarantee you'll be able to farm there next year. So the way forward now is, how do you develop a model in farming where you can farm year in, year out, even if you have to move location as a result of the insecurity? Yeah, so that's sort of where we find ourselves. Last year we farmed in Plateau State. I partnered with the Nigerian Army, and the deal was simple. So the Army provided the land and the security. I brought in the funding for the farm and I farmed, and then we did a profit split at the end of it. You understand? But again, I can't use that same location this year because of insecurity, because now kidnapping in that area is on the increase. So we need to change location.
Even with the Army?
Even with the Army, I mean, they kill the Army every day, don't they? And dude, I'm not taking chances of being kidnapped. Who's gonna pay the ransom?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's really bad out here, and the thing is, it's like, I recently moved back to Nigeria like last year, and when I heard about all the stuff that's going on in the Middle Belt and in the North, I from the news I thought it was just a thing just here and there, and it's a very rare situation, but after having moved back and spoken to people like you and actually been to Plateau State, and, I'm involved in Fonio, as we spoke offline.
Yeah.
And, I found out that one of the ladies that runs the cooperative that I work with, her husband was just killed in cold blood by, some, whatever you want to call them, bandits or whatever, term you want to use. So that immediately brought me back to reality and realized that, look, this security thing needs to be at the forefront of all agribusiness discussion in Nigeria. If we want it to be sustainable, we need to like somehow fix this, or we need to find solutions to this, because we can all get foreign investment and do X, Y, Z, but if there's still an insecurity issue, the farmers can't go out into the land. So you can't farm, and then when you can't farm, food security is an issue, prices go up, and it's a whole system, right? So that sort of leads us on to like the solution that you came up with, the Resolute. Can you tell us a bit more about Resolute and how it works?
Okay, so Resolute 4.0 was set up, and that came up in 2018. So since 2015, I've been dealing with this farmer header issue. I came up with the Farmer Out of Poverty initiative, where we trained 100 Fulani women every year. And it's just a way of bringing them into the project to ensure that they had some sense of belonging. And we believe that if we did that, then there'll be less, we reduce the chances of being run over by any headers, right? And that worked. But then again, the government didn't adopt that model. If they had adopted that model at that point, I'm not saying that this issue won't come up, but I think in a lot of areas, they might have been able to reduce the occurrences. I think that would have been done, but the government we have, they completely ignored it. So I was invited to speak at the TVC Conflict Resolution Summit in 2018, and I laid down this plan I had in 2015 that I'd already implemented in 2015 to them, and they were clapping and they were wild. I'm like, well, if they're still clapping at the solution I came up with 3 years ago, today then it's a big problem. It means that, we're not going to solve this issue. So what more can I do besides this that doesn't benefit just me, but also the wider community? So I thought to myself that, what, you hear 71 people being killed overnight. It takes a long time to kill 71 people. Where was the police or the army at that point? What was the communication between the rural area and the security agencies? What exactly went wrong? And then we realized that there was a bridge there, right? And that's how we came up with Resolute 4.0. That what if we had an app that we put on Android phones and we distribute in the rural area, such that if there's an imminent attack or ongoing attack, the people in the rural area can push the panic alert. I get the alert instantly. It shows their name, their location, the coordinates, and then the army gets it as well, and then they can move in. And because I'm a third party, I can ensure that the army moves in by tracking their movement, right? And because they know that the third party working, it's sort of, I mean, the model is simple. It's like, I send you an email, Malobi, you don't respond, and I copy your boss. Then you're more likely to respond, right? So exactly, so that's sort of the concept we adopted, and and that was it really. So we did that, and it's a 4-button tab. It's map your farm, view your farm, panic alert, and marketplace, right? And we launched it in June 2019. It's been running for 3 years now, and we launched it in Basa local government in Plateau State. The reason we chose Basa was because on April 30th, 2019, it was alleged that 300 cattle were killed by the indigents of Basa local government, which obviously meant a huge reprisal was coming, right? So because of that, we chose that location, and since then, we've dealt with over 220 panic alerts. We've had about 120 farmers killed in that one local government alone. It's crazy, we've had just over 1,000 displaced people in just one community alone, and we also find ourselves now also not only relaying information to the military, but we also relay information to the hospitals, because we're the first to hear of an attack, right? So if there's someone injured, for example, still alive, we'll quickly pass that information on to the hospital. We give them, say, for example, the male age 30, or give them some sort of figure for the age, and then just describe the injury, so that the doctor, it takes him 20 minutes to get to the hospital from his house. It takes him another 20 minutes to set up. So by giving him prior information, you cut out 40 minutes of valuable time, right? Which can make a difference if you're trying to save a life, right? So we cross that bridge, we do that. And then we now went further by also paying the hospital bills, because we then realized that in the rural area, most of these guys can't afford the hospital bill. And this hospital bill is in the region of 30, 40, 50 grand, right? Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's a lot of money to the guy in the rural area whose house is worth only about 20, 30,000 naira. You see, so that's sort of what Resolute is about. And now we're trying to expand to other troubled communities as well, where we can also do this. And off the back of what we do, we collect the data. So we can work out the frequency of the attacks, right? We take that information, we pass it on to the military, the frequency of the attack, the mode of attack, the type of attack, if it's an ambush or a full-on attack on a community. So we do all of these things, and we pass that information on to the army for them to effectively locate their men, their scarce resource in places where they can mitigate any of these attacks. So that's what Resolute is about.
Okay, so yeah, we were just getting onto the app that Rotimi came up with, that is essentially used as a panic button, or for farmers that are being attacked by bandits, etc., in the middle belt of Nigeria. They are piloting the project in the northern parts of the Plateau State government, which is essentially in the middle of Nigeria. And there's been a lot of killings, a lot of things going on in Nigeria when it comes to the clash between the herders and this is a solution that I believe everyone should know about and we should promote. And I think it's doing what he can to save a lot of lives. And that kind of leads me on to another question, Rotimi, because you said that when the farmers push this button, the sort of request goes to you, and then you pass that message on to the military. So that I mean, for someone that just wanted to get into agribusiness, that's a lot to handle. I mean, how has that been for you personally? I'm sure it's not the easiest thing dealing with all these attacks, etc.
Yeah, it's not Malubi, but since 2012, right? Because of the kind of effort and sacrifices that we've made, just to be operational in the agricultural sector. And I know how much that has inspired quite a lot of people to also get involved. I mean, the responsibility almost falls on you, to ensure that those people stay in business. I kind of feel a sense of responsibility that for those people that I've spoken to and I've pushed them, you understand, they're now facing issues. What solutions can you come up with? You understand, that sort of eases their pain, and and that's sort of the relation. That's why we had to build that relationship with the army, whereby we push this alert and we ensure that they react, to the alert. We also draw the data, from all the alerts that have been pushed, and we analyze that data. So we pull out things like time of attack, frequency of attack, the style of attack, if it's an ambush or full-on attack, the type of weapons used. We can tell you the most dangerous time to be on a particular route. And the whole point of doing all this is for the army to ensure that their men are there at those times, just converting that information into intelligence and acting on it to ensure that they stop this killing so that people can go about their lives. And what is more detrimental, if you think about it, is that about 90% of the food we consume, that we buy in the markets in Nigeria that are produced here, are produced in the rural area. So if there's anything that affects the rural area by way of security, it also affects the food supply, right? So that is essentially what we're trying to battle, which is food security. Because, the current, if you look at the inflation rate, we're talking about 22.8% for food inflation. I don't even believe that the effect of insecurity is fully reflected in that figure, because there's a lag period before you start seeing the full effect of this crisis, in the price of food. You start seeing that towards the end of the year and next year, because a lot of farmers are not going to farm this year because of insecurity. And that's what we're trying to combat.
Yeah, I was just saying that I just find it a little bit ironic that, I've got more information from you about, how these bandits, etc., operate, when they operate, what parts of Nigeria they operate, than I have from the Nigerian government, which is a bit bizarre. And I'm just thinking, like, why do you think that, no one, or I mean, I don't want to use the wrong words, but why do you think that you had to do this? Are there no other things being done by the government? Any other, technological platforms that they're using? Why do you think that someone like yourself had to create this app and not the government?
Because I think to deal with this issue, you need to understand both sides. You almost need to be involved in farming or be directly connected to the rural area to understand the pains on one side, you understand, and the economic side as well, to understand the economic implication of that. Then you can develop a solution. And I don't think that the Nigerian army is privileged to do that. I don't think the Nigerian government or those in government also understand or fully understand the implications of the crisis going on in the rural area. That's a plain honest truth. So we feel that by doing this and by highlighting some of this data and also talking about the effects of such conflict, and we push them to pay more attention and do more by way of securing the farms. A lot of people are not going to farm this year. I'm not going to go to the farm this year. There's no way I'm farming this year. Instead, we're considering moving to other African countries, and that's what's going to happen. The minute we sign this this African free trade agreement, then there's no real reason to farm in Nigeria, to be honest, because it means that you can farm anywhere else and move your produce into Nigeria. So why not move to a safer environment where it's easier to raise funds, easier to pay back those funds, it's easier to thrive, and the people you're working with, are secure. Why not do that? It's unfortunate, but if this issue is not dealt with immediately, then you're going to have a flight of farmers to other neighboring countries, and it's going to take a lot more to bring them back.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. Even me myself was someone that has investments in agribusiness in Nigeria. With all these challenges and the government choosing not to step up, it does discourage you. It does make you think, why don't I just go to Ghana and start my farm over there, start processing over there? And so I do know where you're coming from, but I still hope that something happens. I know that, I mean, even looking at the news today, There's a lot of stuff going on in Nigeria right now. So
it's depressing.
It's really crazy. It's really crazy, and I hope that it's got to the point where they feel like, okay, it's gone too far now. We need to do something. But at the same time, I worry that, have they even reached that limit? Do they even see? I don't know. I don't know whether I should give up or I should keep pushing for Nigeria.
Honestly, I think so. Let me just help you out here. I think the challenge is that if it's a matter of they've gone too far, I think that we reached a point about 3 years ago, right? And still nothing has been done. I think there's a total lack of capacity and understanding of the issues that we're currently being faced with, and a lack of ideas or solution, do you understand, on how to deal with the issue. And we made a critical error when we started breaking down the conflict by way of, you have Boko Haram on one side, you have farmer header on one side, you have kidnapping issues on one side, and you have banditry on one side. Do you understand? The fact that we broke them down in that manner is what has led us to this position. If you lump them up and just tag them as terrorist activity, do you understand? Then you will have taken the issues a bit more seriously. There's no way someone has 100 cows and is going to leave those 100 cows roaming around to go and kill some people. Do you understand? So it may not be them carrying out the killings. That's not to say that there's no militia attached to them carrying out the killings on their behalf, right? So, and if that is so, then they must be tagged. Those militia must then be tagged as terrorists. So what you effectively have is that you're dealing with terrorists across board. Do you understand? So it's not just in the Northeast where you're focusing on terrorists and then leaving the police to deal with the issues inland. The military should be dealing with issues across board. Do you understand? And it's crazy. I know what I've seen. I know the information that I have when it comes to security issues in the rural area. So I can tell you for free that the police cannot deal with the issue. The civil defense cannot deal with the issue. The army can deal with the issue, but it also would not be that straightforward for them because it's more of a guerrilla warfare than anything else. So it's not really that straightforward. You see, so we have a huge problem in our hands, and it's time to start discussing the future of agriculture in Nigeria. And what is even more baffling is the fact that you have a minister of agriculture, right, who doesn't only sit down, it doubles as Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, which means that if he doesn't want to deal with the issues of agriculture, it still has to deal with the issues of rural development. But on both fronts, he's failing because we've not heard his voice. He hasn't said anything about the killings. He's not said anything about the state of the economy in the rural area. He's not proffered any solution. He's not showed us any plans. Do you understand? He's not in the dialogue when security agencies are meeting with government. And that for me spells disaster. Because if you are the driver of the sector, you're the number one advisor to the president on the sector, and you're not present in those meetings, you don't have a plan, then what exactly are we supposed to do, the players within that sector?
Yeah, and that's what really worries me the most about the Nigerian case is that there's a silence, and the silence is almost deafening. It's like, well, no one's like the president is not speaking up, the Minister of Agriculture is not speaking up, but yeah, I mean, let's point the conversation to a little bit more positive. I mean, in terms of your project with the app, have there been any successes? Have you seen like a reduction in attacks in certain areas of Nigeria? Has the data helped?
So basically, what we've seen in Bassa, where we launched in Plateau, it's a population of 186,000 people. Is that the information we have is that once the attacks reduce on one side. Okay, so the thing about Bassa, right? Okay, let me paint the picture better for you, right? The three most volatile places in Plateau, which is Bassa, Riam, and Bakiladi, all three of them border Kaduna South, right? So what we see is that when the attacks reduce, when the attacks reduce in Bassa local government, for example, right, it increases on the other side, which is Kaduna, right? And the only way you can see this is through the data we pull out. Do you understand? Also, our data is also being used by the army to set up checkpoints in critical areas in the local government, which has also reduced the attacks in those areas. Do you understand? By way of passing information to the hospitals as well, we've had success, and victims have gone and survived because they had what's it called, immediate attention to immediate attention at the hospital, to deal with their injuries. Do you understand? And also because we also take up most of the bills of these victims, it also means that there's no pressure on the hospital. They can receive victims and begin treatment immediately. So by way of that, I'd say that yes, it's successful, but the issues and the my own pain is to know that something works, and you literally have to beg the country to take that solution and implement it across the country. It's baffling for funding. The US government wrote a letter for sole solicitation, you understand, that they will sponsor, while we are here running around the Nigerian government and the military and the NSC and the likes for them to fund this. It's a foreign government that's taking it more seriously. And it's crazy. It's like someone else is taking Panadol for your headache. It's ridiculous.
No, it really is crazy, and I'd like to personally thank you for the work you've been doing. It's this kind of work that is this really important. Actually being out there, creating solutions, helping the farmers, helping them to get help, and whether it be from the hospitals, from the military, these kind of solutions are definitely needed. And so I guess I just wanted to maybe round things off by asking, with the project you're working on, how can we support you? How can we help? Do you want us to tell more people about it? Do you want us to, do you want investment in the project? Like what ways can we support the project that you're working on?
I think in every way possible. I think, it's a huge project. It's something started by someone, but for that vision to be achieved, I think a lot of hands will have to touch it to push that project. I can't do it alone. I mean, I've bootstrapped for 3 years on this now. It's been live for 3 years, and it's been out of pocket. With my co-founder, I have a co-founder, Joseph Agumbiade. He's the co-founder on Resolute. We've both been bootstrapping on this and pushing, but it's reached that point now where for us to expand to other communities where there are issues, we're looking at each other and saying that there's no way we're buying more phones out of pocket. It's not sustainable, you see, and especially now where the main income earner, which is farming, is not foreseeable in the near future. You can't keep pulling out funds, for charity. The money has to come from somewhere. So we're thinking of, do we do a GoFundMe? If we're looking at investors, how then do we talk about returns? Because the issue we're dealing with goes beyond profits, right? So how do you find people that put money in? How do you, in terms of how we make money? I think we mapped that out actually. But you need that initial injection of cash. So where do you get that money from? Who's interested in this? It's not as sexy as fintech and everything else, which is why it's been a bit of a struggle to raise funding. So I think just getting the word out, getting the work that has been done out there, and then just making it clear that funding is required. I think that'll be a first step and a good step to take.
Amazing. And yeah, thank you so much for your time and giving us all this information. The project is super important, especially in these times in Nigeria. And hopefully, we can help you to expand it, whether by word of mouth or finding investors, so that we can keep the Nigerian agricultural sector thriving. The thing in Nigeria is that everything you have to do yourself. If you want the fuel, you got to get your own generator. If you want electricity, you got to get your own generator. If you want the water, you make your own borehole. And it seems like with security, you got to find your own solutions. And it's really a shame that it has to be that way. But it makes us come up with our own solutions, and hopefully these solutions are more long lasting. So yeah, that's it for the sort of interview. I don't know if anyone in the audience had any questions. If you want to raise your hand and come on stage and ask a question, I can pass it on to Rotimi if he can't hear you. But yeah, it's been a fantastic discussion. I've definitely learned a lot. And just for you personally, Rotimi, with all the stuff that you have to deal with, how do you keep balance? Is it the arts? Do you exercise? Like, how do you get out of the headspace?
It's crazy because now, honestly, I don't. So, this year, and I said that, I think I had an interview in February where I mentioned this, like, beginning of the first week of January 2021, I was in the hospital. I was dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, because of all the crazy stuff I went through last year, farming, just driving back and forth in unsafe zone and stuff. So, this year I've been asked to take it easy. So I do a lot of painting, focusing on art. I started archery, dude. Like that's how, that's how much distraction is required. I started archery. I started boxing. I'm always running, and I just try to clear my head a bit and try to stay positive. But it's hard to stay positive when every time you turn the TV on and if it's not school kids being kidnapped, it's someone that is being burnt down, it's someone being killed somewhere. And every time I see this news, it just highlights how impossible it will be to attract funding to any of these areas of agriculture. That's a sad story, So, it's as much as you try to stay positive, it's difficult.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm here. I can see the things that are going on, and before it used to be maybe just to bring back our girls hashtag in the north, but now it's every part of Nigeria is affected.
But it's a cocktail of disaster now.
Yeah, but like you said, I think having the approach and saying like, look, let's deal with terror as a whole. Let's not pigeonhole it into Boko Haram and bandits and herdsmen and this and that. Let's just deal with it as what it is. I think I saw an interview that you did online where you were just explaining how the patterns and the way they work between Kaduna and Plateau. I was like, this goes beyond just a few cattle farmers walking around, right? This is more than that. This is organized, strategized terrorism. So I hope that the people in power have realized this and we'll get some solutions soon. But yeah, we got to have these conversations. It's not fun. It's not exciting.
It's crucial. Yeah.
It's crucial because I'm trying to really get in the agribusiness space and expand in Nigeria. But if the security issue is not solved, then we're not thinking long term. So we need to solve the security first, and then we can go into other parts of agribusiness in Nigeria. But yeah, thank you very much for your time on this call. I think we can sort of end it there. Hope I didn't take too much of your time.
No. It was great actually. Awesome, it's always good to talk about these things.
Yeah, exactly. We got to spread the word. We got to tell people about it. So yeah, appreciate you once again. And we will be sharing this. I'll be sharing it definitely with my network and see what people think. And hopefully we can come up with some more solutions to support you and work in conjunction with what you're doing. So thanks again. And yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch offline anyways.
Thanks a lot, Malawi. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a nice evening, my brother. And we'll speak soon.